All right, good question, because this is a very complicated scenario. And, I'm going to stumble all over myself trying to answer it. So if your child's IEP states that she receives a resource or other services 4 times a week, yet the resource teacher is out on Wednesdays and does not use Friday, which is her meeting and paperwork day, to make up the time, is this a violation of the IEP? Yes. Now, that's yes, but. Okay, so yes, but. And I'll explain that. But if the IEP does specify 4 times a week, and the teacher is not available on Wednesdays and will not use Friday, then obviously you're down to 3 times, which is in violation. So yes, you have 4 times written in the IEP. That's what it says. They're not providing it, and shame on them. And especially because they do have the Friday available, but that is the day, that's the sacra, the holy day for meeting and paperwork. And I'm not trying to, downplay. I know that teachers legitimately have a hell of a lot of paperwork to do, but I'm just saying that, if you're going to be out on Wednesdays, and I don't know what you're doing on Wednesdays, it's really none of my business what you're doing on Wednesdays. But if you're out on every Wednesday and you're not using Friday, but you have services 4 days a week, then I don't have a lot of pity for you as a school system if you're not making adjustments to fit the necessary time within 3 times, or finding that time on Friday to do it. Okay, because you are absolutely correct in what you said about the non-certified substitute. Okay, so where does the but come in? So yes, it's a violation. The but comes in when you're doing an analysis of whether your child has made progress. All right, it's one thing to have something written into your IEP, but then if you are pressing to have that time made up, then what you are going to need to show on this side is that your child did not make sufficient progress, or your child sufficient progress, meaning that she missed 1 day. So it would be sufficient. So let's say she made progress, but how much progress could she have made had she had all 4 days as specified and agreed to by the IEP team? All right. Did she regress? But can they show tangible, measurable progress for that time period where she was only receiving 3 times a week? So yes, it's a violation because it's specified that it should be this and it's not. But then when you do the analysis, was there regression, or did she progress even despite not having, all 4 of those days? And if she did, and if it's absolutely undeniable that she made tangible, measurable progress at 3 times a week, then the arguments that's going to be made by the school system, if you decide to press this, let's say a due process, is, Your Honor, look at the tangible, measurable progress she made at 3 times a week. That should have been the amount. Now, the counter argument is, well, why didn't you make it that amount to begin with? Once you knew there was a problem, why didn't you go in as the IEP team and make the adjustments to 3 days a week? You did not. So where there's one argument, they have their defense. And then where they have their defense, you have another argument. That's just how this game is played. So it is a series of analyses. But everything in special education turns on that question of whether the child was damaged educationally because of this issue. And how do you quantify damage in education? Is through data and through progress. Did your child make measurable, tangible progress during this time or not? Did your child regress? That's substantive, okay? Not procedural. Now, procedural would be that this is procedural with some substance, because, missing 1 day a week is an actual issue. Now, would this be something that that I would take? I think it would just depend on, that's a yes, but I would want to see the data to show, and I would try to negotiate with the district to try to get that or some of that, the extra day, either provided during the summer or find a different day to do it. So I would try to reach out and negotiate with the district as well. But I mean, I can see it both ways. But my job is to sit there and say, yes, it's a violation, but did your child regress? Did your child make progress? Because anytime you have an argument, understand that the school has their defense. And their defense is, look at the data. She's made all this progress. And then, depending on who the judge and the hearing officer is, they could sit there and say, well, if she made progress, then it really should have been 3 times a week, not 4 anyway. And then that very well could result in you not getting the decision that you want, even though it was a technical violation. All right, so that's why you always need to look at the violation, and then you need to do that extra analysis as to what the data shows. All right, and that's sort of how you balance all of this. Now, in my world, there's, like I said, I would try to negotiate with them to find an alternative for that extra day. I would. But I would also be keeping in my mind, how am I going to maintain and show data? Because it's not going to be hard for them to show data that your child progressed. If you don't think she's progressing or progressing like she should or would, then that's your responsibility, if you plan to challenge them, to figure out how you're going to show that they're not. That way you've got your violation, and that way you're able to hammer through their defense. Okay? Because that's what a parent has to do. You got to be smart enough to understand what their defense is going to be. What's going to be their excuse? And if you know what that excuse is going to be, that's where you tap it and you beat it down. Okay? Right there. And if they don't have any defenses, then they don't have anywhere to go but to negotiate with you on corrective action.